Well, welcome back to another 5 minutes with Pastor Paul. And today's subject is going to be the immanence of God's closeness to us. You know, it's very human of us to kind of think that God is distant, especially when times are difficult, when things in the world aren't going the way they should, if you will, and life is a struggle. We think that God has left us. We think that God is gone, that He is distant. But the truth is, when you look at the Bible, when you look at Scripture, you really see this narrative unfolding. And the narrative from the very beginning of the Bible to the very end of the Bible and all the pages in between, we see this narrative that God is near us. In fact, you could even say that God has a passion to be near mankind. Starting out even in the Garden of Eden, you see that God walked with Adam and Eve in the cool of the day, and with that we see a closeness that God has to His creation. We see a closeness that God has to the crown of His creation, mankind. And you see this seeming desire to be near, to be among His people. And then when sin comes into the world and into the garden, and Adam and Eve are forced out, God could have rejected them, but He continues to treat mankind with grace, a gift of unmerited favor. And eventually, as time goes past, Abraham is called, and Abraham's offspring become a great nation. They're the sons of Adam and the daughters of Eve, but we call them Israel. And Israel falls into captivity in Egypt. And over a period of time and a number of miracles, God releases, or God rescues and delivers Israel from the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel is crossing the wilderness, and they're camped at the base of this mountain. And God is on top of the mountain. He is residing in this cloud-like canopy at the very top of the mountain, and He summons Moses to come up. Moses comes up on the mountain. God tells him and talks to him about a lot of different things. But one of the main things He tells Moses, He says in Exodus chapter 25, and I think it's verse 8, He says, "Have them," meaning Israel, "build me a sanctuary that I may dwell in it." And that's exactly what they do. They build God a tent, and God resides in this tent. And I think the reason why is because when you love your children, you want to be near them, even when they failed you at times. So the Old Testament, the Old Covenant give way to the New Testament and the New Covenant. And onto the scene walks Jesus Christ. And in John chapter 1 and verse 14, it speaks of Jesus, and it says, "And the Word became flesh and made His dwelling among us." That word for dwelling is in the Greek is the same word when God says, "Have them make me a sanctuary." It literally means to pitch a tabernacle. When Jesus came to this earth, He pitched a tabernacle among us. And we know that the purpose why Jesus came was so that He could die on the cross, so that He could fulfill the Father's will to be near His people, because the death of Jesus satisfied the wrath of God so that mankind could be close to God. I mean, it's even represented when the curtain in the temple is torn from top to bottom. That's the curtain separating the holy place from the most holy place. In essence, God is saying, by tearing that curtain, mankind now has access to me. Now I can be close to mankind, and mankind can be close to me forever. And then as we continue our biblical journey, Jesus is preparing to ascend to the Father. And He's preparing His disciples for His departure. And He says that I am going to send a comforter, the Spirit of truth. And He says, the Spirit of truth, who you know, He is with you, but now will be in you. How much closer can you get than God dwelling in you. And with that, we really see the entire triune God getting involved in this passion to be near mankind. And if that were the end of the story, that would be a really cool ending, but it doesn't end there. There's a new heaven and a new earth. When all eschatological events have taken place, God creates a new heaven and a new earth. In essence, a Garden of Eden once again. And it says in Revelation chapter 21, God says, I will be their God, and they will be my people, and I will be with them. They will be with me. Just to paraphrase a little bit, God is going to pitch a tabernacle with us in that new heaven and new earth in the same way that he pitched a tabernacle with Adam and Eve. Why? Because when you love your children, you want to be near them. Friend, I don't know what you're going through, but I know that God is near you because biblical history teaches us that. God bless you. I'm encouraged by you listening. I hope you will listen again to another 5 minutes with Pastor Paul. God bless.